Okay, you're good now.
Thank you. All right, so it's 2 o'clock and we're going to convene the meeting of the Great Barrington Library Board of Trustees. We have one member on Zoom. Hopefully she's there. So let's recently do a roll call here. So Lauren,
Here.
Rob, here, Carol,
Here.
Julie,
Here.
and we believe Sharon's there.
Sandra.
Yes, yeah.
So Sandra has an invite to join us as a panelist. Just waiting for her to accept it.
Already.
Let's try it again.
So Mark, are all those attendees on the right?
Yeah, you'll see all the attendees on the right. And library staff, I'm guessing is Donna.
Yes, should be.
Okay, so,
And Marie is a staff member too, Marie Blauvelt.
Yeah.
okay.
And is Emily?
I'm not recognize Emily. What's she do? I don't know. Emily.
Well, let's
Here we go. They're joining us now.
So Sandy, are you there? Sandy, if you're there, just turn your mic on. Say hello.
I can turn her mic on, but
Okay.
no, okay, Sandy, there you go.
Hi,
Okay,
guys.
we're just doing roll call, so so Sandy is on. She is on Zoom. It's a hybrid meeting. The rest of the board is here with the exception of Sandy. The on the minutes as it was sent out, we're gonna approve minutes, but we are gonna wait until next month to approve the last month's minutes. And Ruby has graciously agreed to be our secretary. And so we do need to officially vote on that though. And I guess we have to roll call vote. So this is unanimous consent, I believe, anyway. We had talked about this last time because nobody wanted to do it. So Lauren,
I.
Rob,
Absolutely, yes.
and Sandy, although you're there someplace.
Definitely.
Thank
So it's
you.
unanimous that Ruby Chang is gonna be our official secretary from this point on, and we'll have those minutes next time. And thank you, Sandy. Sorry, thank you, Ruby. Appreciate that. The Ed, if you're there someplace in cyberspace, you have any friends report for us here?
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Sure. We have started putting books out every weekend. We got, let me back up a bit. We got a huge donation when Randy Weinstein closed his Great Barrington location of his bookstore. He gave us not the rare books, the valuable books, but tons and tons of books, all in great condition. Looking forward to putting those out. We are a little choking on space in the basement, which I just organized yesterday because the fire inspector is coming. But we're putting books out on the weekends and hope to start moving them quickly. What else? We probably won't be putting them out this weekend because I'm a little busy getting married on Saturday. To report.
So Ed, is the plan to still go to the farmer's market then on the 1st?
Yes. So we need to talk about what we're doing and how, but
Okay.
yes.
So we don't take too much time now, but Rob, can I have you hook up then with Ed?
We have spoken at the market, and the dates that we have tentatively with the market are, and we have 4 volunteers. That it's Saturday the 2nd and the second weekend, the 9th. I think, my understanding was contingent on whether or not we had the questionnaire resolved in time to actually circulate.
Yeah, we will, yeah. Ed, what logistically then, moving some books over, why don't we, I can probably load a whole bunch in my car. Maybe I could pick those up on Friday. And
Sure.
then just, that might be a lot easier, because it means transporting the mobile shelving, it just means pushing those things over in I think 2 seconds if they're not loaded with books. So why don't I work that out with you?
Yeah, and I'll be setting up a big sale in front of the library that day, so that would be very helpful if I can give you those the night before.
Yes, all right, let me work on that. Now, Ed, do you have the library banner?
I don't, it's there. There are two, a bigger one and a littler one. Talk to Lori to make sure she's not using one of them,
Okay,
but I think both of them will fit on a tent.
okay. And then Rob, there is tables we can use there, is that correct?
There will be a table available in a tent.
Okay,
It's a 10-foot square tent.
yeah, yeah. Okay, great, thanks. All right, so we can talk more offline, just to get that thing hooked up. Thank you. Hey, Ed, thank you,
And good luck.
and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is we have to have just a discussion and vote on trustee participation in the strategic plan subcommittee. So what we've already agreed to is this is volunteers, and volunteering at this point are Rob, Ruby, Sandy, and myself. But we have to take an official vote at this meeting so that we can have that next meeting to talk about that. So is there a motion to take up 4 trustees participating in the strategic plan committee?
I move that we, enlist 4 trustees to, be part of this committee.
Okay, thanks. Second, Carol seconded, thank you. Discussion?
What's the, excuse me,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
how many people can be on the committee?
There's really not a fixed number, but common practice says 2. So that you have enough participation from staff and everybody else. You don't want it too big because you can't convene people on this. So I think things we can start off with that. I'm willing to just step aside and just help out on it because this is enough for me. So it's going to be better. The smaller is better. So it would be better if it's 2 or 3. But to get this started now for the meeting in 45 minutes, I think 4, because the confusion is that in the charter, it says you have to have 4 trustees for a quorum. So if we did it with 3, for example, this afternoon, well, it might be wrong. So we just want to get through today so that we can get through the farmer's market. So that's the plan. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have questions. And I thought your question was how many participants overall in the committee?
There's
So
no
4 from
legal
the-
number, but there's 7 is the best one.
So you'll
So
be looking for 3 people outside of the.
3 or 4 outside, community members, yeah.
And then how many from the library?
2 or 3, same thing. So
And
it's
who
so
will
that
do the
we,
recruiting for the other members who are not trustees?
anybody, we could put a note out into the public or whatever. We already have, some people have already offered as it is.
Okay.
So I think it won't be, that won't be a problem, but 7 is the best number because it's not unwieldy. You can have 7 people meet, it'd still be open meeting law, so you have to have a quorum and all of that. And if I'm saying something wrong, just let me know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think technically a subcommittee should be strictly members of this board.
Okay,
Unless by charter, the select board appoints a new committee to work on this specific task.
so that's gonna be different than what like the MBLC, what the norm is for libraries, because they want as much participation from the public, especially too.
Mhm.
So this is where, I'm not sure how other places, the charter is gonna be different. But well, just tell us what you want us to do, and we'll do
When are you planning to meet for the first time?
it. 2:45,
Oh, today.
yeah,
Okay.
just with 4 trustees,
Okay. And you have that posted?
yeah.
Okay. I don't know that I'll be able to give you an answer by 2:45, but I will.
Okay,
Why don't you go ahead and meet at 2:45 since it's posted? And then I will do some research in the meantime and get right back to you.
One question I had is when the charters, it's all over the map, what's there. There's a section called meetings, boards and meetings.
Mhm.
But then there's an asterisk in that about the library. So that's why I think that the library, because libraries have subcommittees for
Yeah.
picnics, for every time.
There may be different rules and
Yeah,
I'll look at
okay.
that as
Great,
well,
thanks.
but
Okay,
in general, subcommittees are usually, I think, of the subcommittee as a portion of an existing board where 2 or 3 members break off and work on a project.
Mhm.
They still have to comply with the open meeting law and report back to the larger committee.
Yep.
Whereas what you're referring to, which is a few members of the trustees with some additional members from the outside, that
And staff. too, yeah.
and staff, that sounds like a committee that under normal circumstances might require the select board to approve, but again,
Yeah.
the libraries may have different rules, I just don't.
Well, could we, just, as a workaround, can we ask the select board if we find out there is a conflict with that?
Mhm.
So we could probably get on the agenda for July or something.
July 10th would be the first meeting in July, there's also a meeting next Monday, the 26th.
All right.
So there's some time.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I make a comment? First of all, I don't think
Sorry, this Sandy, just identify.
I haven't been introduced to you. I don't know who you are.
Well, it's Pat. No, we don't see you. So, and the people here don't know who's speaking. So just.
Okay, this
just
is
identify
Sandy,
yourself.
Sandy Piantorno. And I know Patrick, but I don't know who's sitting next to Patrick.
Oh,
is just-
sorry, Sandra, I'm Mark Krasinski, I'm the town manager.
Okay, so,
I'm
Yeah.
here to drive the webinar today.
Yeah, he's doing us a favor today.
okay, that's great. So, we spoke to Maura Didi, right? And she said that as part of doing the strategic planning, that the Massachusetts state says that we should be implementing it with the board of trustees and the director of the library with community.
With community input,
Yes. Involvement, yes.
you have a hand up.
Massachusetts state, yeah. The Commonwealth says that.
Eileen, we'll take your question.
Oops. Well, I was wondering whether Sandra was there, but I gather she's attending online.
Yeah, we have COVID in the house.
I'm glad you're not there.
You
Well,
got two.
I'm not there either, but I guess they're not. But, okay, I just didn't hear who was there, so that's,
The entire trustee board is here,
Except for Sandra.
except for Sandra, who is virtual.
thank you.
Process or procedure.
All right, I'm gonna recognize Sharon Gregory, who's actually live here in the audience. Call it that.
I just wanted to know whether or not, the staff members can be on the strategic planning board, because in the onset of this, I thought you said that nobody on the staff could be, a participant, but of course, it's a fine line as to how the twain shall meet, but I thought it could be a chance to explain, so we don't have miscommunication.
Yeah, I think it was originally understood that staff would not be participating in this. However, I do realize that we as staff, and that includes me, have a role from time to time. For example, attending the MBLC training. 3 of us, I think, did attend that training. The reality, though, is that we are down 6 employees as of Friday. And I think that their priority should be keeping the doors open and the lights on at the library.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk about what role they'll play in this process going forward, but it will be incredibly difficult for them to accomplish both, keeping the libraries open and focusing on this grant.
I
No
did,
doubt.
because Mark is correct, that was what our understanding. I spoke to Donna, just to tell her we were going ahead, and I would said, I understand she probably cannot go to many meetings, maybe 1 or something, but then we would run everything by her as it comes in, and we can get her input offline or whatever.
I mean, I can tell you from my perspective anyways, the town manager, my goal would be to have Donna focused on day-to-day management of the libraries right now.
It says staff, by the way. I'm not sure, it's not supposed to be just director, just library
Right.
staff, part-time, it could be anybody in there. So, so we just, I guess we're just being fluent and flexible with that, just as long as somebody can give us some input as we go. We're also getting additional input from the MBLC, and a few other libraries helping us out. So I think we're covered. That's our best workaround to keep moving on that. Thank you. Any other questions at all? On the subject?
There are no other hands.
Wait.
I take that back.
Sandy,
Yes, so I just wanted to mention, along with that conversation with what Mark said is, yes, I think we all, as trustees, understand the intense work and pressure that's on the staff at the library right now. And we want to support them in everything that they're doing. But on the same hand, we also know that in order to make anything work, we need to get some feedback from them in any way, shape, or form. They need to be a part of it in however that can be managed. So I think we're going to do it and work around it and do the best we can.
I have. Is that okay?
Sharon Gregory, yes.
I outlined all the kind of chunks of things that need to be done from the seminar. And one chunk is the townwide library services plan. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be done now, we're, you know, short staffed and so forth, but as time goes on and there's availability, I wouldn't want any of the staff to feel like they're just, you know, some plan is being done without their input. So, you know, if we could be sensitive to both things, what data we need and reports, like the annual report they file, some of that needs to be extracted into the grant process.
We had copies of that. That's due in August, so that's a firm deadline with the state.
And I always assume that staff would have to participate again in some way, shape, or form, whether it's providing data, whether it's attending a webinar that's required by MBLC, something to that effect. I just, again, for the most part, want them to be focused on the day-to-day operations.
Thank you.
Is there further questions? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll move to vote. So we're voting on the volunteer trustee participation and the strategic plan subcommittee for the meetings at 2:45 today. Lauren?
Aye.
Rob? Actually, probably do a voice thing for.
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Sharon? Sorry, Sharon.
Sandy.
Sandy.
The S's.
I'm not sure that you can vote because you're virtual.
She can vote. It's just with a member participating remotely, you have to do a roll call vote for everything.
Okay,
Oh.
okay, so Sandy.
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you, that's unanimous, thank you very much. Because as Mark stated, the library is under tremendous stress, Donna won't have a report for us this time, which is understandable. Although if, I don't see anybody from staff there.
Yeah, your staff is there.
Okay, why don't we turn around and see if Donna's there.
Hello?
Hello, Donna, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
Hi, well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for stepping in for about the third or fourth time in your career here. Saying you're one of those people, you know, that you're on the bench and then all of a sudden you're not on the bench. But we really appreciate it. Is there anything that you've heard some of the comments now that are very supportive of the library? Do you have anything that you have to add to it or you want to tell us?
Not really. We're just really short-staffed. I mean, I have 2 extra people out today sick and we had to close the children's room early. So it's, you know, when I'm covering the front desk, it's really hard to go get reports.
Is there any luck on any part-time people applicants? I mean,
I'm not sure.
okay.
I think there is, but Sophia was going to send them.
Okay. All right, well, we'll let you get back to it. We really appreciate it. And if you needed something, just let us know.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Tough situation, huh? The question and answers out of the trustees. Any questions on any other subjects as we get moving here on these?
Regarding what, Patrick?
Anything actually, just as far as our roles or anything, stepping aside now from the subcommittee for a second.
Patrick, I have one question though.
Sure, go ahead.
So Mark, as Donna said about being short-staffed, are there job openings that are out there for employment? Is it listed?
I don't think every position is posted at the moment, but they are being posted. We're reviewing, just like we do with any opening, we revisit and review the job description and then repost it. So Sophia is actively working on any openings right now.
So would you be willing to, because I think the trustees need to know the process. This is not like an overnight thing. Can you explain the process when we have such so many employees, short-staffed? The timeline for reviewing, posting, interviewing, and give us a realistic perspective of how soon that's going to happen if we do find qualified candidates?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that every position is equal. For example, the director position is going to take a little longer. It will involve more people. We do have.
On the interview committee, you mean?
Correct.
Mhm.
And I will speak with you about that when the time comes. We do have that position posted. We'll be reviewing those resumes soon and
So
reaching.
they're already, so that it's posted so that resumes theoretically are coming in?
They're coming in now.
Good.
So on
That's
the-
for the director.
On the homepage of our website, there's an employment opportunities tab and all the positions are posted right there. I don't know exactly which one of, or which ones of the open positions are posted right now. But I know for certain that the director position is posted. We decided to hold back on the assistant director position until we have a director in place so that we can have the new director participate in that process.
In the hiring process.
In the hiring process. In the meantime, I will be announcing on Monday night during our select board meeting that I've appointed Donna Brown as our interim library director and Christine Warner as our interim assistant director. I believe the youth services CERC tech position is posted, as is the part-time CERC tech position, which is actually 3 open positions to the best of my knowledge right now.
And Mark, those positions where Donna's, for example, going into this other position and the other person, they get a salary that's commensurate with that change, I'm assuming?
That's correct.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
That's reflected in the appointment letter.
But it also leaves a void in their normal job duties.
That's
Because it's not, I mean, I know there's some of the positions are union, but it's not fair to ask them to double up
That's right.
and work both jobs.
Samara and Talia, and of course, Talia is still working for us through the end of the week, but both have agreed to work for us on a very part-time basis to do a few very specific responsibilities during this transition. For example, Samara will be coming in to do some payroll and end of fiscal year closeout work since we're on the cusp of fiscal 23-24. And Talia will be working for us part-time, completing the required state reporting.
It's appropriate to make a comment from about last month's meeting. When Talia and Samara both turned in their resignation, there was questions about them attending the webinar. And, at the time they weren't, for whatever reason, they just didn't really feel comfortable commenting on it. But I want to point out that they did attend the webinar the next week, the last webinar. I was on it, as was Sharon, and that if they hadn't attended, they were able to have invited somebody else from the library. So there just was a little bit of misunderstanding, I think, that got taken out in public that wound up not being particularly accurate. And I just wanted the record to reflect that they both attended the webinar.
We can amend the minutes when we look at those next month. We can amend the minutes to mention
Okay.
what happened. Anything else?
You have a hand up. Eileen.
Sandy. Eileen. Come on down.
I was just wondering whether Samara and Talia were still working with the librarian. I gather they are.
Samara's last day was June 13th. So she's only working for us on a very, very part-time basis now. Talia's last day is this coming Friday. And then she'll transition immediately over into a very, very part-time basis as well.
All right. And Christine Ward's position is
Warner. Sorry, Warner.
Warner. And her position is what?
Interim assistant library director.
Okay, thanks, Eileen. If there's no more questions, let's jump into just the charter for a second. Because Mark has been helpful and clear on what we need to just and do at this point. So basically, as you know, there's the 3 Ps.
Excuse me,
There's the 3 Ps. Yes, priority,
3 Ps.
plan, and policies. And as more Didi at the library consultant at the state has told us is that basically everything flows from the strategic plan. So that's part of what the plan is there. Everything flows from that. So whatever you come up with that, then that's your priorities and probably affects your policies. So that's why this strategic plan is so important, because just otherwise you can't function because you don't have a plan. So that makes sense. So I mean, those words have different meanings to different people. So we could probably pursue that at some point. And then it's obviously, as we're seeing even right now, that those policies and the plans and everything are affected by staff capacity to work. So that's something that I think we're gonna have to be really flexible and fluent on everything we do, because otherwise you can't, it's like a business. You got problems, something's going on, you've got to switch gears to make stuff happen. So I think that's where we're headed. So again, the strategic plan is of critical importance. You have a copy of the last plan. It's not available on our website. I know we can check to see if we can put it there on our library website. But the plan was comprehensive. 300 people from the community gave feedback, which is important. Also, the other plan we had that was done with our consultant, Rob Cullen, also had a little bit over 300 people. And he told me that's a great response for a community our size. It was actually one of the largest ones he had.
And just for the record, you're referring to the Great Barrington Library's Long Range Plan 2017-2021?
Yes. Yeah. Now that's expired by a year now, so it's that's where we're at. So I think that's what we've got there. No director's report. Again, there's no treasurer's report because that information comes from also from the staff. So that brings us to citizen speak or media time. Anybody else has any comments at all? Eileen, you have your hand up.
Her mic is open on our end.
Eileen, you have to unmute yourself, please.
I'm sorry, my hand was lowered, but I'd like to request whatever the strategic plan committee considers. I'd like a copy of that.
Say it one more time now.
I'd
You'd
like
like
to
what?
I'd like a copy of whatever the strategic plan subcommittee is considering,
Okay.
so that I'm current.
Yeah, first thing we'll have to consider, and this is going best practice, is the past plan that's expired. And I sent that to you a couple of weeks ago. So, but if you need it again, let me know. And sure, we'll obviously keep you in the loop. We'll keep everybody in the loop. Is that Eileen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that's citizen speak, I guess, and media speak. Board, do you have any other comments and anything?
I'd like to comment just to support what Sandra said, that what we're doing is great, but I've only been on the board just over a year. And I have a background in HR, so that was one of my priorities, was to go in, get to know the library staff. Samara had asked that we, get to know her. So I did go in and have her give me a tour of the library, talk about the physical plan, I know some of you already were seasoned, but she said I was the only one that came in. And I'm hearing that there's a little disconnect from the trustees and the staff, that they feel a little unsupported. There was a newspaper article. I don't know what the feeling is in the community. People are confused. I think that going forward, we really need to address whether it's, everyone has their own perception. Why do they feel unsupported? Why do we have the attrition? Why do we have the turnover, director and assistant director? That we not just, think it's a passing thing. That how do we face this? And how do we be in communication and dialogue with the staff as trustees? Because we need to have their back. And I learned a lot going in there and working there as a senior tax write-off. And it was a real eye-opener to see the stress they're under and going into their 4th season of no air conditioning through the summer, which is brutal and unfair. If it was happening at town hall or at the police department, I'm not sure they would tolerate 4 summers with no air conditioning. So we can talk about strategic plan all we want, but we have to let them know how valued they are, how much they're appreciated, and be there, be on the, go in there, see what's going on. It was a real eye opener to me to see the stress that they're under, and to have 6 people exit as they did. I'm concerned for the future of the library, and the PR, so to speak, because we're trying to hire new people. And if there's a lot of disgruntled people there, personally, if I heard that and I was applying, I would ask a lot of questions. So I don't know if anyone else wants to address that.
Well, let me address a couple of things. After I looked into some of this stuff, there's been an epidemic of people leaving their employment in education and in libraries. There's an enormous amounts of library directorships open all over the country. People got burned from COVID, and it's just now still showing up. So,
Well, I don't want to be simplistic with it just being COVID.
well, I'm not either, though. But I'm saying that is a major consideration all over the place. And you're right about the stuff with the air conditioning and stuff. And I can tell you from even other people I've talked to, the supply chain and getting work done. I can't get work done in my own house. It's just unbelievable. So there's a lot of things we can't fix. There's other things that have happened that you may not know about. I spoke twice this year in support of the staff getting wages, probably to Mark's chagrin. But once was finance committee, once was non-select board. So I sound like I'm announcing this rah, rah, rah for the world there, but I put my money where my mouth is. I mean, none of you others were in that, if you want to be frank about it. I'm just one person on the staff. So you have to, we're volunteers, but there's nothing to prevent you from supporting them publicly in that manner, which would be.
If I'm informed or aware that that's going to be addressed at a meeting.
It's on the calendar, it's on the town calendar.
Okay.
All right, so it's all there. So that's one thing right there. I think the other thing is you have to remember that's a union staff. And there's got to be protocols on who's supervising them, who's asking questions. That's with any kind of employment involving unions. And so usually the conduit has to flow back through the town manager. And that's how these things pretty much have to work. That's how the library staff, that's how the directors want it to be, by the way.
How do they want it to be?
They don't want us talking to the staff.
The director doesn't?
No.
Okay, I wasn't under that
And so the thing is-
impression. I wasn't under that impression from the.
All right, but let me
current
tell
director at
you
all.
this, and I knew that frankly, because Samara was starting this tough job,
Mhm.
I went in there once to see her.
Mhm.
At the first week she was there to support her, because I knew it was gonna be tough. And we were having monthly meetings, so I didn't need to get, we've had past trustee chairs that may have been maybe a little assertive with the library staff.
Mhm.
And I think that's baggage that we're getting from 10 years ago or more.
Mhm.
And that's part of this stuff.
Mhm.
And it's hard to kind of work our way through this, and we have to. So the first step that has to happen is, needs to be some contact with the trustees and the staff, and that's what we're trying to work on. They'll have a chance to have feedback even on the subcommittee to tell us frankly and honestly how they feel.
Mhm.
So things are maybe not moving fast enough. We're in an unusual crisis, and obviously the media hasn't helped us. They've told stories are partially true, and that's, people read what they read. And then everybody gravitates towards these sensational stories, and I think it's wrong. Look how many times I used Samara's picture with some articles. That didn't help her career either. It's awful. But maybe it was clickbait, and then people hit it because it looks like some other stuff is going on Great Barrington. So anyway, probably saying things I probably shouldn't be saying now, but anyway, that's your
Yeah.
question. That's what we have going on.
So
Anybody
Pat,
else have any thoughts on that? Wait, hang on, Sandy.
You have
Hang
two
on.
more hands up.
Anybody else have any thoughts here? Okay, Sandy,
so along with what Carol said, and I think this is essential. I really understood a lot after we spoke to Maura Didi, looked up a lot of the Massachusetts laws governing libraries, public libraries. And the reality is that there is a chart, essentially like a flow chart. And whereas the director may be at the top of that and the staff below that, above the director and along with what we need to do is the director should be talking to the trustees about any issues that come up in the library with the building, with the staff, with anything like that. We, and this was also, Maura said it directly, I asked her a direct question. Should the trustees be talking to library staff about issues and problems? And she said, absolutely, I'm quoting her, absolutely not. She said, that is not your job as a trustee. That is the job of the director of the library to talk to the trustees, and then the trustees ultimately and always should have the director's back. Maura Didi even mentioned that when she was in a situation where they did not have, there was some kind of a health issue, she shut the building down. That was her choice as the library director, and the trustees backed her up. So as long as our director going forward knows that we will back her or him in whatever is legal, right? I think that's where we should be. Not that we're walking around and checking on what's going on. That's not what we're supposed to be doing as trustees.
okay, thank you, Sandy.
The citizens speak over, or is it?
No, please go ahead.
You know, a lot of good points are being brought up and sensitive points. For example, I understand, and Mark, correct me, that the library staff reports to the town manager. So things like things going wrong, or whatever, they're making decisions as long as Mark or whoever Mark appoints is okay. And I don't think that those things are supposed to go to the library board of trustees. You know, including the air conditioning and everything else. I mean, library board of trustees don't have any jurisdiction over it. Mark does, you know, the DPW person reports to him.
Well,
So,
we've been supportive though, sorry.
yeah, I'm officially to be supportive, but the thing is, if you start mixing the roles, then that's when, you know, I'm just curious about this and that and so forth, and then, you know, that person, the library staff is under pressure to finish some things, they're gonna feel upset. So, you know, I'm not saying, you know, anybody's doing anything wrong, but I think it's essential that people have a clear understanding of, you know, what's okay and what's not appropriate, and that anything you do outside of those are exceptions, not normal. And I think about this as we go forward with the strategic plan, or you all go forward with the strategic plan. I just volunteered to help on some things, but there are many times when you're gonna have crossover, like, oh, I never got this information, and you know, it's informal and well meant, but the library staff person could have priorities doing something else. So I'm thinking that my own suggestion is that there be some formalization of the relationship, particularly on the strategic plan, like once a week something, or, you know, you have only Pat and somebody else that's designated to communicate what's going on with the strategic planning process and get some agreement as to when it's good to meet and such. I don't know, those are my suggestions.
I'd like to furthermore, there's a little confusion, that I'm trying to follow with the different emails that come back and forth. I understand some libraries are not managed by the town manager, or the director's not hired by it, and so are we in transition in terms of the trustees' duties versus the town manager's duties? And can you delineate that for us, Mark? What's our role is vis-a-vis that?
We're not in transition at this time, and I can't speak for other communities, but we have a strong town manager form of government here in Great Barrington. So staff is hired and fired by the town manager, including the library director. You know, I like to think we have an opportunity here to work together as the trustees, town manager, and library director. And I think we just need to very clearly identify our roles and responsibilities going forward. And I don't see any reason why we can't do that and be successful.
So what support would you like from us, for you as a town manager?
Well, I
Knowing that
think-
you've got right now you've got a pretty big crisis over there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the first request I would have of this group is to have someone be appointed from this trustees group to assist me, be at the table with me during the recruitment process for the next library director. I would like some buy-in
I'd be happy to do
from
that.
this. Great. So I'll be reaching out to you probably through Pat to have you appoint someone. Just like we did last time. Margaret was at the table with us right here when we conducted interviews for that position. And then going forward, you know, I hope that we'll be able to, again, clearly identify our roles and responsibilities and work together as a team.
Which I think the staff would really appreciate, because I'm sensing that maybe they don't feel there's enough of a team.
Mhm.
I'm just speculating, but, to see that they're dispirited, I just want them to know that we really do appreciate and care about what they've gone through.
I think going forward, it'd be really, I don't think there's any problem with communication. I think that, you should feel free to communicate with the staff. You need to have a good understanding what they're dealing with, what they're working with in the library buildings. Where it gets a little murky, I think, is when trustees get involved in day-to-day operations.
Right.
That's when I
Well,
think
it
we
wouldn't
start
make
to
any
have,
sense to do that.
right. So,
Yeah, I guess the only thing is, and I think this caused some dissension that was even articulated in the paper, was day-to-day operations around Patrick wanting the Housatonic Library open on holiday
mhm.
weekends on Sunday. Now, that was very hands-on, and that was, that was a trustee bringing that up and putting it on the agenda, and that seemed to cause some dissension. Is that an example of what you're saying? That was kind of like getting too involved in the day-to-day operation?
Well, that's a.
Oh, I was asking Mark to just respond to that.
He wasn't town manager when this all went down.
I'm asking him about that specific meeting where Talia was trying to articulate why that plan wouldn't work. Was that an overreach on us as the trustees to come in on an agenda and say, we want you to open on the Sundays that are holiday weekends? That, just using that as an example from what you just said.
I would say day-to-day operations should be
That's a
managed by the
day-to-day operation.
by the
not-
director and the town manager.
Yeah.
Correct. There's no reason any one of you couldn't bring that to my attention and have a conversation with
So that
me.
you bring it to your attention rather than putting it on the agenda,
I think that would be the first step.
because that seemed to be what started some
Okay, Carol,
discomfort.
there's some information missing here. I spoke to this on the select board meeting about this before the library meeting, to bring it up. This is old history here. So, if you Google it, you'll see the articles. This came up as it was initiated essentially by the Friends and the trustees when it first occurred. There was an agreement made with the city, the town, that the employees would not have to work on Sunday, ever. So who works in? Part-time people that may be coming in, they're only working an occasional Sunday, may not be from our community or anything. That's the way it was. That's the way it still is, right? It doesn't affect staff. Has no effect on them at all. Zero. Did you know that?
That's not what they said at the meeting, but my
Well, I
point
know
is, I'm
that's
just
what they did say at the
using this
meeting,
as an
but that's
example.
not the
But
fact.
just going forward, with Mark, I really want to get clear on my role as a trustee so that I'm not interfering with day-to-day operations at the library, because I just heard from him that we shouldn't be doing that. So I need to understand that as a newbie, new trustee. And so is that an example of what you're referring to?
I would say if that situation were to come up again, I would prefer to have a conversation with one of the trustees offline and then,
And not have it as an agenda item that is publicly,
It was already done, Carol.
I'm
You
just,
keep
I'm just talking about going
I know,
forward.
but you're talking about this issue. It was already brought up in public. It's record. It wasn't at a trustee meeting.
You know, it's no need for further discussion. I'm just using that as an example for Mark's
Well,
point.
day-to-day
That's all.
operation kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of the operation run by the library staff.
We're finished.
Okay, guys, I have a quick question of Mark, if we can go on. Mark, when you set up this committee moving forward to look for the director, the last time, how many trustees did you have recommending the director?
I believe the trustees appointed one person to represent at the table. And that
Out of
was.
how many? Out of how many people on the
the
committee?
trustees, it's a committee of 6, so 1 out of 6.
All right, well, maybe you can think about increasing that so that there's a better connection and communication between the trustees of the library and the person who's being appointed. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thanks. We have this other meeting that doesn't start soon here.
Can I answer one thing?
Sure.
You know, one of the questions, on a lot of the library questionnaires that I reviewed had to do with the hours. You know, do these hours fit you and so forth, and, you know, we'll have to survey that too. So, maybe, if those kinds of questions come up, and since the trustees are in charge of the strategic plan and the direction of the library, that's a forum, where if people feel that it's critical to do that, that somehow you all collaborate as to how it could be done, whether it's by volunteers, and special volunteers are trained for the closure or whatever. Seems like that would be good, because there are a lot of libraries that are open, even like Sundays and different like, and a lot of people, you know, working people can't get to it. So, you know, under the circumstances of making that kind of a strategic direction, I think it would be proper for that collaboration to happen with the trustees.
Well, that's the way this thing 5 or 6 or 7 years ago was, that if there was no staff, one trustee, if they were willing to volunteer, to come in on a Sunday with one part-time staff.
Okay.
So that was, it really was a good system to work out, but what's happened is now we have more and more holidays than we had, I think 2 more than we had back then, even on Mondays, so libraries closed. And then, as you said, people that are working 5 days a week or whatever, they might have the holiday weekend off on that Sunday, and then they can't go because it's not open. So anyway, that's just, I mean, it's just more empathy from people that are working serious hours more than anything else. It didn't impact the staff, even though that's the narrative that was told in more recent media stuff. Had no impact, 0 on the staff.
But I'm just, it's mentioning a way by which we could resolve some of those issues, kind of on a directional basis and an operational basis, because you will have a number of things that cross over.
I just have one last question. Going forward, are we fixed on, so we all can plan ahead, are we fixed on when our trustees meeting's gonna be?
Yes, I wrote that to you last week. So the Wednesdays at 5:30,
Second Wednesday,
second Wednesday, yeah.
and going forward, that's
Going forward,
more or
yeah.
less
We have-
locked in.
Mark, we have to change that in the charter, so that's in September. Is that when select board usually meets about the charter issues?
No,
No,
we don't meet regularly for
charter.
charter related
So we're kind of, the charter says Thursday, so we.
town code or. Sure.
Sorry, well, it's the chart, section 24, it's our charter.
And it specifically says when you meet in there.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's changed over the years, because I looked at older charters and it changed, but obviously we're moving to a different date than it says in the charter.
Gotcha.
Oh, and on the dates, your strategic plan is due, to the library, Massachusetts Library, October 1.
Yes,
So that's one where you might want to have a second meeting, you know, before it is
yeah, you should have a
officially
special
filed.
meeting, we need to do that, sure, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, I think we should move to adjourn so we can begin. the
Can I just
second-
say one thing about the Sunday hours? This is Donna.
Oh, hi, Don. Oh, yeah.
We had I know it wasn't supposed to affect staff, and I know you were supposed to run it by volunteers, one volunteer and one staff member. But the volunteers did it for a while and then they just couldn't do it anymore. They have other things going on. And we have two staff who are there all the time and they actually look forward to being there on Sundays. So, and to have an occasional day off, that's really great.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Donna. Okay, so is a motion to adjourn this meeting? I so. Is there a second?
Okay.
If you're awake, yeah, please say second. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks. All right, so, okay, so, well, let me hit this, it's great. Meeting adjourned. All right, so now we had the subcommittee meeting, we start immediately here, so.
Are you
Oh,
planning
got
to
the
continue?
long
Yeah,
tail.
we have to, okay.
You got the
All
line.
right, so, you can, if you're not in this next meeting, you don't wish to stay, that's fine. And same thing for the public there, now we're gonna be convening the subcommittee, strategic plan subcommittee.
Well, I'm not in the subcommittee, I'm gonna stay for a few minutes. I'm
Great, thanks.
curious how to do it. Move forward with it.
This meeting is running itself at this point, so you don't need to do anything unless you have a hand up.
Okay, if you have a hand up, then.
If you have a hand up, you'll see the hand, you've seen it already. Just
Mouse it
hover over it and
Okay, great.
hover over this right here
Yep.
and just hit allow to talk.
That's it. Thank you. Mark.
Okay,
Thanks for.
All right, sure.
All right, so we're calling the meeting at 2:52. This will convene the first meeting of Great Barrington Libraries Board of Trustees Subcommittee for the strategic plan. We'll have to do a roll call vote here. Rob? Here. Ruby?
Here.
Myself? And Sandy. Sandy, just, what you need to say here. Turn your.
Yeah.
Yes, great, thank you. Excellent. Okay, so here we go. Here's the discussion of strategic plan through October 1st, 2023. First order of business is obviously the farmers market and this visibility to bring our survey to fruition here. So let's, what I'm suggesting is probably need one more meeting in this, probably on Monday of next week to finalize a survey, I think, so we can get it out. We're gonna be tight on time here. The Ruby and Sharon has helped on this significantly. They have worked diligently on a survey. We've had all these various feedback of different surveys we looked at, different people we talked to. So this is Ruby has a draft, and Ruby, we're gonna turn this over to Ruby as far as the trustee that will handle the survey here. So so she'll take us through this draft. Again, the draft is just a draft, but at least we can get started on it.
This is yours. So Sharon did the original draft and I kind of added on some stuff to it. She did it in Word, but I only have pages and it doesn't work as well. But overall, it's here and don't mind the colors, but it's here so that you could maybe take a look at it and see what your thoughts are. I worked on it as much as I could last night, added some stuff in it. And please comment on what you thought. Pat had sent out something from the, what, she has it. The most recent, you had sent out some information about how to look at the library, and I thought it really inspirational.
Aspen.
Yes, and that was really inspirational as far as what kind of questions to ask.
You see,
However,
everybody got that though. So did everybody see that?
Yesterday you sent it.
Yeah.
Yesterday? Okay.
What did you think of that? I thought,
didn't see it. I mean, I saw it, but I didn't have
Okay.
time to look at it.
okay, but if you look through it, the.
Ruby,
it's-
just mention again. I missed what you said. Which was it?
Pat has sent out some information about, what was the name of it?
It's Aspen,
Aspen, yeah. And
Okay,
it's from 2014, where
Okay.
it looks like some sort of consulting firm that really reviewed what does the library mean and
Mhm.
and how does it what are things we should consider as far as what we want in a library? Library as a person, library as a platform, library as a community. And I thought that was in, but it's really hard to, because those questions are asked and you have to write down your answers. It's not a survey form.
Right.
So I tried as best as I could put diversity in there to, as an educational community such as, tech, taxes, health, all of that. I think Sharon originally had those items in there already. So this survey encompasses some of the ideas from that Aspen article, but it also has pretty much what we're looking for as far as public think or public requests. So I sent it out to Pat last night and he said that he probably would send it out to everybody
I
or,
didn't do that yet, because I wasn't sure.
Okay.
That's- Yeah, so let me do that right now then.
okay, so you could probably send it out. to
Yeah,
every-
Ruby, just
Okay.
remember that I'm not there to see anything that you guys are looking at, okay? So
Okay,
whatever
I'll see
papers you
mine.
gave out, yeah, unless you put it
I
online.
only
with-
have one copy.
Okay.
And the reason I only have one copy is because I wasn't sure if Pat wanted to send it out.
Okay.
So, Pat's gonna send it out to everybody now. And then
Great.
the other page is a compilation of the strategic plan, which is on Excel and, or numbers in Mac. And unfortunately, I'm not, he couldn't open it, but, so I'm gonna try to reformulate it so that it could be, so it could be, you read it this way.
Yeah.
So that it would be an outline with the dates on it so that you could have a better sense of the whole strategic plan. Out timeline as well as what needs to be done. So Sharon did that and it was very helpful. So I think we have pretty much, and this is obviously, I just kind of typed it up because I wanted to see what it looked like, and something to work off of. So I just wanted to have it available to you guys so that you could work off of it. This is coming off of what Sharon had written. And so I think one of the things we need to start working on is actually to get what our committee is going to look like. So we need to look at, we have the subcommittee members, but we also need to have Donna somewhat involved because she's the interim director. We also need to have Sharon involved as one of the community members that are volunteering her precious time. And then we need to have a couple other community members. And I wanted to know, how should we invite those people? How do we invite those people to come?
I mean, obviously, the best, the ones that fit in best with, I guess, it should be diverse, for one thing. Even as far as age goes, so I mean, we can have more community members than just 3, but we should really be diverse as we can with it, people that can help us with this.
Would Donna be somebody that might give us names that we can approach?
I
Because
think
she knows who comes through the
They
library.
don't need to come to a library necessarily. They need to appreciate libraries, I think, but sometimes people can give you an idea because they're outside the box. So I think, and there's a Michelle Loubert, I mean, she's very busy. But Michelle is one that she's kept track of the libraries for years, everything that goes on. So she would be somebody that cares deeply. But again, on the university side, youth and things like that, I think we need to figure out how to do that. There obviously is, a real champion of things is Tate Coleman, and I don't know if he's here for the summer, but he's someone that's been amazing. He's done survey after survey. With the transportation situation, he's somebody that seems to be really in tune with the community, and he is a young person. So and his mother used to be a library trustee, actually. So that might be.
Would you do that? Would you invite
I
him?
don't know him, but I think find out if somebody knows him and if he has the time. He's been largely responsible for changes in the transportation system. I mean, he's as a high school kid, so he's amazing. That'd be good. And if anybody has anybody in mind.
I have two people that I'd recommend.
Okay,
I don't know I don't know what the process is, but I think Barbara Zeitland, who used to be the director of Berkshire Brown, I think she's really insightful and intelligent
And you know her, then you could call her.
And then recently, about a month ago, met a person at the farmer's market, Louise Schaefer, who is a retired librarian and a director of a state library, and is,
You think she would do it?
well, she's very interested in helping, so but I didn't want to reach out to her. I didn't invite her. Her name's Louise Schaefer, and she and her husband live up here now full time.
She's unbelievable. Her library in Fayetteville, Arkansas was named the best library in America.
It's an annual distinction of ALA, American Library Association.
One library across the US, and her library got it.
And she consulted with the entire New Orleans library system for setting up different models and for branch libraries as well as the main. And she,
So, yeah,
it's in her DNA, but I wasn't sure about what the process is to including and how we go about that.
yeah, I think we're, well, depending on what Mark tells us, we will still have to wait for his word that we can do something on this. I think we're free to do whatever we want. Right.
Patrick, wait,
And then
just one other thing. You talk about diversity and
Yes.
young people. You might want to reach out to Gwendolyn Van Sant or the staff, the adults that are at Railroad Street Youth Project in town. They're really involved with the community. The kids do a lot of good stuff and
Yeah,
want to get another approach and another way of thinking, right? Not to just think of old white folks.
no, that's anything that brings us the whole spectrum of communities, what we're supposed to be doing. Even if it's not a limited capacity, even if they can come to just one meeting and give their input, they're
Yeah.
not chained to the desk here. So I think,
there's a Latin man that is the manager of the wine shop right on Railroad, is really enthusiastic about the library.
Oh, really?
Brings his son to the library all the time.
okay, well,
Well, I've met him. He's interested in a whole different thing for the library in terms of fundraising event, but I think he might be somebody that would be certainly represents.
Well, no, that's great. I mean, really, yeah.
So it's Miguel De Leon.
Yeah, I think we can tell them it won't be a large time commitment.
Mhm.
So even if they can come in and even if it's just one session, they come in and give us their feelings and thoughts.
I think he'd be,
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's like consultants, so the more the merrier, actually.
I just wanted to have one comment on the questionnaire as it stands right now.
Yeah,
It's, especially from being somebody that's at the farmer's market every week, it's not just people that live in Great Barrington that are there. In fact, it's probably more broader than a predominant, it's probably less Great Barrington and people from other places. So if I was coming for the weekend from someplace and I use the local library wherever I lived all the time. I wouldn't fill this out because it's specific to Mason and Ramsdale, and I think that we could get more input if we were to make it less specific about our two libraries, that's all. I mean, I think, because these questions are relevant to any library you use. But I think it puts off, at least only if the farmer's market goes 2 weekends or go there longer. I think it's like, oh, I don't live there, so I won't pass it out, but their information could be informative if they.
But is it because the time is, do you use these libraries or not? But if they don't, they can still fill it out.
So maybe we ask another question, like, so what libraries do you use? What, sort of something like that where.
Yeah, it could be. It's just that, we were cautioned not to have too many write-in answers because they're really hard to tabulate. But, if that opens a door to,
Well, or how often do you visit your local library? So that could be the question. It could be, doesn't ask where you live, but it could be that I live in Sheffield and I go to the Sheffield Library every Tuesday or something.
yeah, I guess, it's difficult because, there's this kind of overarching philosophical way to ask people about libraries, and then there's these specific things to try to fill the gaps that we have, locally with our libraries. And it's very difficult to figure out where on the continuum to land. For example, you kind of want to have the survey results support the direction that you're making for the strategic plan for the next 5 years, right? So if they say, well, I think we should have an all-around blah, 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 and there's no way we could have that. We just, kind of want to first have the Ramsdale renovated and usable and so forth. And it'd probably take all of the 5 years to do that. Then we can't ask too many questions that are ideological. So, where that stands on the continuum as to how we aim the questionnaire is a tough one. And frankly, I had to have Ruby because I was thinking that I couldn't be talking to myself in this. So, you might want to keep this in mind. I read all the strategic plans that, I could get my hands on from Patrick, and I scratched my head and I said, Ramsdale should have been renovated like 5 or 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And all the questions I wrote, read the questionnaires of 2013 and the 2018. And I said, if we could just do what we said we we're gonna do, as a town, that would be really great. So I'm all for having an idea kind of on the global front of, what should the library be and representative and so forth. But, I feel like we're so behind as a town to do the things that we thought we were gonna do. And many of those things actually still hold, increasing library hours, having more programming and things like that. But then I looked and I said, where are we going to be able to do that? We need people. We need a lot of volunteers. We don't have enough. So that needs to be included in the questionnaire. So,
Right. Ruby,
well,
I just want to mention one thing as you're talking about that, not to break in, but I personally don't really care that much about people who are coming from outside, who are coming in to visit or going to the market on Saturday, about what they think about our libraries. I'm not as concerned about that. I'm concerned more about what our community thinks about our libraries. I want our community to really feel connected, that their words are going to have meaning as we go forward. So I would prefer that it is from residents in the community to help in putting this strategic plan together by their responses. And I don't think it's difficult to do, because my husband and I have done that in the past at the farmer's market, when we would, ask people about voting for different things in Massachusetts, and we would say, are you a Massachusetts resident? And they would say, no, I live in Connecticut or New York. We say, okay, thanks anyway. Then they'd want to know maybe, but other than that, we were really focusing on those who were living here in Massachusetts, and that's what we just said.
Oh, should we have a area code of where you live
Well,
on the survey?
So let me just interrupt for a second. You know who really cares about what people think is the MBLC, that they're focused on future. And where are we headed? What's the trajectory? Where is society going with this stuff? So the thing is, I think we can use that to our benefit. Now, what Rob's point is well taken. So maybe what we need to do is, can't we just have a small survey, it's one little page or something? Are you not a resident? Oh, here, can you help us with this? So that we can still collect the data, which we can still show that we collected the data, which is important because this is what the MBLC is looking for. Because they talk about, we want you to have a 30-year horizon, this and that. The Fayetteville, I looked, their strategic plan, I think was 50 years. They're looking at 50 years out at that library. Unbelievable. You check, it's online, you should check it out. It's like, they have a lot of time on their hands, right? 50 years, you're lucky for even have a planet left. But so anyway, I think we can use all this stuff to our advantage here. That we collect from the residents. I mean, we have a separate sheet simply to ask, are you from here? Oh, no, great, can you fill this out for us anyway?
I think the zip code would do it. Just put the zip code on, ask them for the zip code, and anybody could fill it out, but I'm not for pie in the sky stuff. I don't care if the MLC
But
wants.
they're the
But
ones,
Sharon,
they're the ones with the money.
Excuse me, 40% of the judgment of who is gonna get the grant has to do with need. And I think that, one of the things I'm trying to do is gather up the demographics from the last 2020, census. And all the newspaper articles and, age, everything else, housing, to show, the need. And the need in Ramsdale is severe to me. The second thing is about the 30-year horizon. Let's put this in perspective. I looked at the 30-year horizon and, they told me where to go and so forth. And so we're declining our population. So we should just not even, we shouldn't even apply.
You're looking
What
No, but-
I'm just being facetious.
Okay.
But where I'm going with that is that what I'm trying to do is say, but I'm digging up all this stuff from the town, like we're installing new housing and 1,000 people would be increased, if this is all coming true and so forth. So they want us to look at the 30-year horizon to see whether it's supporting or, are we addressing these things? And to me, we are addressing these things. So I feel like if we don't get the basic stuff done, and I'm just gonna tell you, we have 3 months to do the strategic plan, and a lot of that has to be with the survey. And so if we have all these other people, it's good, but they gotta be basically inputting within the next 2 months so that we could, put the needs in that. And the rest of the time is doing things like, the financial analysis.
Let's stay on
Stay on
the
the
survey.
survey though.
Survey,
That's
yeah.
okay. I think, Sharon, that, I think that Pat's point could be, is viable, that there could be a one sheet for people that don't live in the community. And how do they use the library in their community if they do? And that can be informative. Then we have a more detailed one that all of you, I presume, have worked on that's specific to Mason and Ramsdale. I think it's a win-win because you get input from everybody. I don't think your pie in the sky comment sounds like, well, my neighbor could have division could have a pie in the sky, but he lives here. But it sounds like you're dismissive of people that are outside of the community as pie in the sky. But I think the risk of having somebody, and maybe I'm misreading that, Sharon, but pie in the sky can come from anybody wherever they live, and it doesn't matter if it's outside of Great Barrington or if it's in. You just don't worry about it. They write it down, you dismiss it. You don't have to treat it as something reasonable. I believe what we're looking for is a majority of consensus in opinions, like how do they use stuff? I never use it. I would only use it for Friday night. Well, that's not gonna happen, but you know, you have one person. But if that became a trend where all of a sudden 100 people said that they wanted Friday night, then it might be something that needs to have a conversation and say, look, all of these people filled out this, and this is something we don't offer, but people want it. Maybe we should.
Oh, that's absolutely on point.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they said, we would like, you know, 5 language sectors, and we have that in Greenwich, and, you know, you don't have that here. I don't know how that supports, you know, I think, you know, looking at our multicultural, demographics,
Mhm.
you know, I think certainly we could support something going towards that direction, especially Spanish speaking, books, Spanish language books. So that's not pie in the sky, but I just want enough, I mean, it doesn't have to be everybody, you know, but like 2/3 kind of speaks to something we can do. We're already behind the, you know, 8 ball with that. I just don't want it to be 2/3 of the pie in the sky and then 1/3 like, oh, your people don't even want, you know, XYZ. They don't care about Ramsdale being renovated.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I think too that we're specifically talking about having a table at the farmer's market a couple of weekends. That's a unique place, but I'm assuming that the library is going to be passing out the survey, that when every time you check out a book, you're gonna be getting this, or have you served, you know, can you take 5 minutes and 10 minutes, can you fill out the survey while you're at the library and collecting that? So and that might not be out of state or out of region, but I'm not looking, I don't think the only way we're gonna get the survey done is by 2 days at the market. It was just some place that brings 1,000 to 1,200 people together as a community, has a good vibe, and I think that people would be receptive to filling it out, but I didn't ever think that was the only place we were going to be trying to get input.
Okay, if we could do a 1-pager or something for the non-residents,
Because some of those non-residents are also donors.
Hmm?
They're also donors. And if they can see, boy, look at the trustees are out here doing something, you know, that's pretty good. I think I'll invest in them when I'm gonna do my annual giving to something. So the thing is, you never know.
we have
When,
to
Just
have
never
a-
know.
Rob, also, when you mentioned about where the surveys would be, can you write down or mark down about also on the library's website? If there's a way of filling it out
course,
that
yes.
way. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And do we want to have a defined period of time, like
Yes.
is the survey live for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or?
Last one was 6 weeks.
Yeah, but we
Last
don't
one was
have 6 weeks.
Well, but we, July 1st to the end of the beginning of first week of August. That's what they did last time.
July 1st, that's like 30 days, that's not 6 weeks. If you don't have it by August, you know, the strategic plan is due October 1 you don't think that it takes any time to aggregate the survey, analyze it, and include it in the writing, and maybe Rob will help to write that, you know, that supports the strategic plan, the totality of which is due
Yeah,
October
I
1.
think if we could do it in a 4-week period of time was, you know, in some way you don't put it off. You're less likely if it's somewhere down the road, I'll take it with me and I'll get it back. But if you can kind of the library can kind of try to get people to do it on the spot and not take it with them as well.
Yeah,
I can tell you that when we did that one in 2008, that was with the consultant,
2018 or
2018, it was really sluggish getting people to fill those out. So my worry is different than yours. I'm worried that we don't get a robust, you know, people turning these things in, because they haven't used Ramsdale in 3 years, right? I'm really afraid of that. So the thing is, at least if we have out-of-towners filling something in and we have collected some data that may not be completely useful, at least we've done that. But I have a real fear we're gonna have a hard time.
do we have any money for an incentive? Like you can enter a raffle draw where you can get a gift certificate to Book Loft?
Yeah, that's what they did in the strategic plan. It was a $35, inflation took care of that. $35 gift certificate to Book Loft.
And would one of us go there and ask that they could
I can do that.
donate?
Yeah. Well, let's not, they're hurting too. What we would do is ask the friends to donate. Donate the certificate.
And maybe, I mean, what's our goal, or you said 300 people participated? in the
Well,
last
we
one?
had 308 in the 2018 survey for the consultant, and I forgot what it was for the long range plan, but it was 300-ish. So that's been another.
Well, we had a consultant and we had a lot more lead time than I'm sure that,
It was me. I was carrying those things off.
yeah, but who designed the questionnaire?
The consultant did, but
Thank you.
but you saw the questions, you saw what they were. I mean, that was in the report there.
So-
Well, we want to have a broader, better, and we don't have anybody to do the tabulation, and we don't have a consulting company right now.
If we need it, we have plenty of time. If we need one, we can find an accounting firm to do it.
So,
Pro
so
bono.
We need it. I'm not gonna do it.
Well, let's
That's
get
one
to this.
thing at a time.
let's
not
do
survey.
about this first. So we're going to have I vote to have the exact same one for out-of-towners as well as in-towners. Because I think that no matter what their background is, I think that the information is relevant.
Yeah, and we can change the wording as you suggested.
We could just add like a zip code of your home address, just so we know where they're originally from. Just so we have that. Number two is I think we can distribute it to a lot of places where people are waiting around to be served. And that could be, at doctor's offices. People wait all the time. And we can bring it over there and I'm sure that the people there will be more than happy to give out a clipboard. Don't you have to fill out all the stuff from the clipboard? So you could do that. I could do door to door and say, would you mind filling out? And have different people go door to door and say, this is really important. Would you mind filling it out for us? We can do all that.
What you could do with out-of-towners is you could just say that, oh, you're from out of town, and then you can start at number 5 or number 4.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Just jump down where you
Just-
mentioned. in the
all you have to say is that you want them to fill out whatever applies to you, and they will fill out whatever that they can. But I think there's a certain number of homeschoolers that are in the community, and I definitely think they use the library quite a bit. And I would like to reach out to those people and make sure they fill it, because they're benefiting from this initiative. And then we really need their input on what else we can do. So those are different populations that we can go to. We can go to them and ask the people there to see if they could help us with this. Do we need, and maybe they have translators there, so maybe they can help with helping us
Oh,
filling out a couple of
Ruby.
this.
Ruby,
Yeah.
just what you're saying about translators, is it gonna be in English and in Spanish?
That's a question for you. I don't speak Spanish, so what do you think?
Well, I think the survey should be in both English and Spanish.
So if that is the case, I need to find someone who can, who could.
Interpret?
I think Lori is fluent in Spanish, I believe. I think she may have
Lori
been
who,
in the library.
we're not gonna use somebody that's a library staff to
Well,
do something like that.
Actually, no, that's another point, Ruby, because you'd be the one best for this. You should talk to Lori about this too, because the children's library is a completely different animal. And she can help us. Maybe we need to have a children's survey that children and their parents can just fill out, just specific to children's needs.
And Pat asked about that because the Millen Library up in Williamstown did a children's survey, but it wound up being a YA. It was how to, and they were opening up
What's a YA?
young adult
Oh,
reading program, and so they were looking for specific information for that audience, but they